Welcome to a journey behind the curtain of global superstardom, where the neon lights of the stage fade into the warm, quiet glow of a living room back home. We all know Stray Kids as the Thunderous icons who redefined the K-pop industry with their self-produced grit and ordinary charm. But have you ever stopped to wonder about the architects of their character? Who are the men who taught Bang Chan the weight of leadership or gave IN the courage to chase a dream far from the docks of Busan? Today, we aren't just looking at idols, we are looking at sons and the fathers who shaped them. These aren't just background characters in a biography, they are the unsung heroes, the disciplinarians, the dreamers, and sometimes the silent providers who sacrificed everything so their boys could dance on the world's biggest stages. From high-stakes legal battles to the glittering world of precious stones, the professional lives and personal philosophies of the Stray Kids' fathers are shrouded in mystery until now. Are you ready to discover which member grew up under the watchful eye of a strict prosecutor? Or whose father literally built the foundations of their physical endurance? We've gathered the most intimate, rarely heard stories that bridge the gap between a trainee's struggle and a father's silent prayer. This isn't just about trivia, it's about the DNA of greatness. Which father's secret profession will leave you speechless? And how did a simple piece of advice from a dad in Malaysia change the course of K-pop history forever? Put on your headphones and lean in, because we are counting down the top 8 rarely known facts about Stray Kids members' fathers. Trust me, by the time we reach the revelation at number 2, you'll never look at these 8 pioneers the same way again. Let's dive into the legacy, the love, and the hidden lives of the men who raised the kings of the 4th generation. Number 8. IN. To truly understand the foundation of the youngest member of Stray Kids, we have to travel away from the neon-soaked streets of Seoul and head south to the bustling, salty air of Busan, a city known for its rugged coastlines and even more rugged hearts. In the heart of this coastal powerhouse lived a father who exemplified the traditional Gyeongsang-do man archetype, a man whose love isn't found in poetic speeches or frequent hugs, but in the firm, unyielding boundaries he sets to protect his family's future. When a young Hyunjin first approached his father with the dream of becoming an idol, it wasn't met with immediate applause or the waving of glow sticks. Instead, it was met with the heavy, resonant silence of a man who knew exactly how cruel and unpredictable the world could be to those who dream too big without a safety net. This is where the story of IN's path to stardom begins, in a household where discipline was as constant as the ocean tide and where every decision was weighed with the gravity of survival. IN's father, a man whose professional life required a level of pragmatism that left little room for the uncertainty of the entertainment industry, didn't initially see the stage as a viable path for his youngest son. He saw the sweat, the high failure rates, and the broken hearts of thousands who tried and failed, and his first instinct was to shield his son from that inevitable pain. Thus, he laid down a challenge that would become the defining catalyst for IN's legendary perseverance, a 1-year ultimatum. This wasn't just a deadline, it was a father's way of testing whether his son's passion was a fleeting childhood whim or a fire that could actually withstand the cold, harsh reality of the training system. Imagine the psychological pressure on those young teenage shoulders, knowing that every single day spent in the practice room was a ticking clock, a literal countdown toward the end of his dream. If the year ended without a breakthrough, the dream would be buried under the weight of textbooks and a traditional, stable life back in Busan. This specific brand of tough love is rarely discussed in the context of K-pop, where we often focus on the glamour, but for IN, his father's skepticism was the whetstone that sharpened his ambition into a blade. His father wasn't being a villain in this narrative, he was being an anchor, ensuring that if his son were to fly, he would do so with the urgency of someone who has no other choice but to succeed. During those early trainee days, while other kids might have had the luxury of seeing how it goes, IN was fueled by the memory of his father's stoic face and that singular, looming deadline. It's a reflection of a deeper Korean cultural phenomenon where fathers often act as the grim reaper of reality to ensure their children develop the doki or the grit needed to survive in a hyper-competitive society. But behind this wall of discipline, there were cracks of immense, quiet pride that only those closest to the family could see. Fans have caught glimpses of this through the way N speaks about his home, a place where his father's influence is woven into the very fabric of his impeccable manners and his surprisingly mature, philosophical outlook on life. This is the man who taught N that being the maknae doesn't mean being weak or pampered, it means being the foundation that holds the rest of the group together from the bottom up, possessing a mental fortitude that belies his youthful appearance. The quiet strength we see in IN today, the way he smiles through the most grueling schedules, the way he accepted harsh criticism during the Stray Kids survival show without crumbling, is a direct inheritance from a father who believed that a man's worth is measured by his endurance, not his complaints. There's an old saying in Busan that the sea doesn't pity the weak, and N's father raised him with that exact sentiment. Even the way N's father eventually relented and supported him shows a profound transition from a protector to a silent believer. When N finally made the cut for the debut lineup, the victory wasn't just his, it was a silent reconciliation with a father who had dared him to be great by threatening to take the dream away. It makes you wonder, without that intense pressure from the man who raised him, would Na have developed that desert fox cunning and the relentless work ethic that made him indispensable to Stray Kids? The atmosphere of their relationship is one of unspoken respect, the kind where a simple, brief phone call or a nod from a father means more than 1,000 words of praise from a stranger. It's a narrative of a Busan boy who had to prove his heart to the one person whose opinion mattered most, transforming a potential barrier into the ultimate launchpad. As we look at N now, standing at the pinnacle of global fame, we aren't just seeing a talented singer, we are seeing the result of a father's calculated gamble, a gamble that paid off in the form of a son who knows exactly what it means to earn his place in the sun. The shadow of the Busan docks and the weight of that one-year contract still linger in the way N carries himself, a constant reminder that greatness is often forged in the fires of a parent's high expectations. Every time N hits a high note or leads his Hyungs with his subtle strength, he is carrying the legacy of a man who taught him that if you want to touch the sky, you first have to prove you can stand your ground when the wind tries to blow you back home. This relationship reflects a beautiful, albeit complex, dance of traditional values meeting modern dreams, proving that sometimes the hardest no from a parent is actually the most powerful yes to a child's true destiny. It's the story of salt, sweat, and a silent bond that spans the hundreds of miles between the southern coast and the global stage, a testament to the fact that while his father might have been the one to set the clock, N was the one who learned how to make every second of that year count for a lifetime. But wait, if N had to fight against a deadline, which member's father was the one who actually pushed him into the spotlight, almost as if he knew his son was destined for the stage before the boy even knew it himself. And what kind of professional background does a father need to have to remain so calm while his son becomes a worldwide phenomenon? The answers lie further up the list, and they might just change the way you think about the Stray Kids' DNA forever. Stay tuned, because the next father on our list didn't just give his son a deadline, he gave him a legacy of rhythm and soul that traces back to a very different kind of professional world. Do you think N's father still keeps a copy of that original one-year agreement somewhere in a drawer in Busan as a souvenir of the day his son proved him wrong? Or was the ultimatum itself the greatest gift a father could ever give to a son destined for greatness? Number 7. Seungmin. If you've ever wondered why Kim Seungmin carries himself with the poise of a seasoned diplomat and the meticulous organization of a high-ranking official, you need only look at the shadow of the man who raised him, a man whose life was dedicated to the pursuit of justice and the rigorous, unyielding world of the South Korean legal system. While many idols come from backgrounds in the arts or business, Seungmin's upbringing was steeped in the gravitas of a household led by a prosecutor, a profession that in Korean society carries an immense weight of responsibility, intellectual discipline, and an almost sacred devotion to order and truth. Imagine growing up in an environment where words aren't just sounds, but instruments of logic, where every action must be backed by evidence, and where the standard for excellence is nothing short of perfection. This is the atmosphere that forged the dandy boy we know today, and it explains so much about his legendary cleanliness, not just in his physical surroundings, but in the crystalline precision of his vocal technique. His father, a man of the law, didn't just provide a stable home, he provided a blueprint for how to approach a craft with the seriousness of a life or death trial. In the legal world, a single misplaced word can change the course of a person's life, and it is this exact philosophy that Seungmin applies to his singing. Have you noticed how he obsessively records his practice sessions, taking notes on every sharp and flat note like a lawyer reviewing a deposition? That is the DNA of a prosecutor's son at work. His father's influence instilled in him the idea that talent is nothing without a structured framework to support it. There's a quiet intensity in the way Seungmin speaks about his family, a deep-seated respect for a father who taught him that integrity is the most valuable currency one can possess. It wasn't always a given that a man of the law would embrace the chaotic, often unstable world of the idol industry for his son. Can you imagine the heavy atmosphere in their living room when Seungmin first declared his intention to trade a potential path in academia or law for the uncertainty of the JYP training rooms? It was a clash of two worlds, the static, traditional world of the courthouse and the dynamic, unpredictable world of the stage. Yet, in a reflection of the deep bond they share, his father didn't suppress his son's passion. Instead, he demanded that if Seungmin were to pursue music, he must do it with the same rigorous commitment required of a legal scholar. This is why we see Seungmin consistently being one of the most hard-working members, the one who stays the longest in the recording booth, and the one whose journals are filled with self-evaluations that would make a professor proud. The discipline didn't just come from a desire to be famous, it came from a childhood where doing your best wasn't a suggestion, but a fundamental family value. Fans often joke about Seungmin being the polite savage of the group, but this sharp wit is likely a byproduct of a household where debate and logical reasoning were part of the daily bread. He knows how to construct a sentence to be both hilarious and undeniably true, a trait that screams of a sharp, analytical mind nurtured by a father who likely never lost an argument at the dinner table. There is a sense of prestige that follows Seungmin, an aura of being well-bred and deeply grounded, which is a direct reflection of a father who ensured his son understood the weight of his name. Even the way Seungmin handles the intense scrutiny of the public eye with a calm, unflappable demeanor mirrors the stoicism of a legal professional who must remain objective under pressure. He doesn't just sing, he presents his case to the audience, using his voice as a medium to deliver an emotional truth that has been meticulously prepared and practiced. This background adds a layer of depth to his dandy boy persona that is often overlooked. He isn't just neat because he likes things organized. He is neat because his father taught him that the way you present yourself to the world is a sign of respect for yourself and for those you serve. Behind the scenes, while other kids might have been playing video games, young Seungmin was likely absorbing the quiet dignity of a father who spent his nights over legal briefs, learning that success is built one page, one note, and one disciplined hour at a time. The emotional reflection here is profound, a son who took the hard skills of a stern, intellectual profession and translated them into the soft art of music. It's a beautiful synthesis of the father's logic and the son's soul. Every time Seungmin hits a perfect, stable note during a live performance, it's a tribute to that prosecutor's mindset, the refusal to accept anything less than the truth of the music. His father's legacy isn't just in the legal records of South Korea, it's in the unwavering reliability of Seungmin's character. He is the member the others lean on when things get chaotic, the one who brings the law and order to the group's dynamic. acting as the bridge between their wild creativity and the structured reality of their career. The atmosphere of Seungmin's journey is one of quiet, high-stakes excellence. It makes you realize that his journey from a legal household to the main stage of a global boy group isn't a departure from his father's world, but a continuation of it in a different language. He is still seeking justice, the justice of a performance that honors the hard work put into it. As we reflect on this, it's clear that Seungmin's father didn't just raise a singer, he raised a man of substance who understands that the platform he stands on is a responsibility, not just a privilege. The details of their relationship are kept private, as fits a man of his father's profession, but the evidence is written all over Seungmin's face every time he bows deeply or speaks with that trademark eloquence. It's a narrative of respect, of a son who carries his father's gavel in the form of a microphone, ruling the stage with a precision that only a prosecutor's son could master. This leaves us wondering if Seungmin's life was shaped by the rigid structure of the law, which member's father comes from a background so physically demanding and high-octane that it explains his son's near-superhuman athletic abilities and terrifyingly sharp focus? The next member on our list has a father whose professional life required him to be a literal champion of physical grit, and the details of his influence will make you understand why this member seems to never run out of energy or determination. Are you ready to see how a father's heavyweight career path paved the way for a son's explosive stage presence? Number 6. Bang Chan. To understand the core of Stray Kids, you have to understand the man who raised the captain himself, because Bang Chan's leadership style didn't just appear out of thin air. It was forged in the chlorinated waters and early morning mists of Sydney, Australia, under the watchful, disciplined eye of a father who understood the true meaning of endurance. While we see Bang Chan as the tireless leader who produces, writes, and protects his 7 kids, his father, a renowned swimming coach who ran a successful swimming club in Australia, saw a young boy who needed to learn that the greatest victories are won when your lungs are screaming for air and you're still 10 meters from the wall. Imagine a young Christopher Bang, long before he was the vampire of JYP Entertainment, waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. when the rest of the world was still draped in sleep. Driven by a father who believed that character is built in the blue hole of a competitive pool. This isn't just a fun fact about a hobby, this is the professional DNA of a man who literally taught hundreds of children how to survive and thrive in an element that is naturally hostile to humans. His father wasn't just a teacher, he was a master of physical and mental conditioning, a man whose life revolved around the stopwatch, the lap count, and the silent discipline of the underwater world. In the Australian sports culture, swimming is nearly a religion, and being a coach means being a mentor, a psychologist, and a drill sergeant all rolled into one. It was this specific atmosphere, one of high stakes, rhythmic repetition, and the absolute necessity of self-reliance that shaped Bang Chan's early years. Think about the parallel. Swimming is often a lonely sport, where the only sound you hear is your own breathing and the churning of the water, much like the 7 long years Bang Chan spent as a trainee in Korea, watching his friends debut and leave him behind while he kept swimming in the dark. His father's influence is the reason Bang Chan never drowned in that sea of uncertainty. His father taught him that when you're in the middle of a race, you don't look at the lanes next to you. You focus on your own rhythm, your own stroke, and your own finish line. This explains why Chan is so uniquely focused on the group's internal harmony rather than external competition. But it wasn't all just hard-nosed coaching. There is a deeply emotional, tender side to this relationship that fans caught a glimpse of during the Stray Kids survival show. Remember that moment when Bang Chan's parents visited the dorm? The way his father looked at him wasn't just with the pride of a parent, but with the knowing gaze of a fellow professional who recognized that his son had taken the coaching skills he learned in the pool and applied them to a global stage. His father provided the physical foundation that legendary Stray Kids' core strength and those broad shoulders aren't just for show. They are the result of a childhood spent in a family where physical health and athletic excellence were the standard. However, the true rarely known fact lies in the philosophical transfer of leadership. In a swimming club, the coach is the one who stays until the last kid has left the water, the one who dries the floor, and the one who analyzes every movement to find a second's improvement. Does that sound familiar? It's exactly how Bang Chan runs Stray Kids. He is the first one in the studio and the last one to leave, often staying up until the sunrise just to ensure a single beat is perfect. This first in, last out mentality is a direct inheritance from his father's professional life. His father didn't just teach him how to swim, he taught him how to lead a team through a storm without losing his cool. There's a specific Australian grit that his father instilled in him, a blend of no worries optimism and work until you drop intensity. Even the way Chan handles the immense pressure of being the group's spokesperson and primary producer reflects a man who was raised by a father who knew that in the deep end, panic is your only real enemy. When you see Bang Chan standing on stage, soaking wet with sweat, leading the Thunderous choreography with a smile that never fades, you are seeing the legacy of a father who taught him that the water is only heavy if you don't know how to move through it. This relationship is a beautiful testament to how a father's specialized career can translate into a completely different industry. His father used water and stopwatches, while Chan uses sound waves and lyrics, but the underlying principle of coaching greatness remains the same. There's a profound sense of sacrifice here too. His father had to watch his eldest son move across the world to a country he barely remembered, to pursue a dream that was thousands of miles away from the safety of the Sydney suburbs. The emotional distance must have been staggering, yet his father remained his anchor from afar, providing that steady, calm encouragement that allowed Chan to become the father figure of his own group. It's a narrative of legacy where the coach of a swimming club raised the coach of a K-pop revolution. Every time Chan checks on his members asking, "Are you okay?" or "Did you eat?" he is echoing the paternal care of a man who spent his life looking out for the safety and progress of young athletes. The atmosphere of their bond is one of mutual respect between two leaders. Can you imagine the conversations they have now? A father talking about his club's latest trophies and a son talking about his latest Billboard No. One, both understanding that the secret to their success is the exact same thing: relentless, disciplined, and compassionate leadership. It makes you wonder, if Bang Chan hadn't been raised by a literal professional coach, would he have had the mental armor to survive those 7 years of underwater training? Or would he have folded under the pressure long ago? This background is the hidden engine of Stray Kids, the secret reason why the group feels so much like a cohesive, high-performance sports team. Bang Chan isn't just a leader, he is the son of a man who knows how to build champions from the ground up, one lap at a time. This legacy of the Blue Abyss is what keeps Stray Kids afloat even when the industry tries to pull them under. But if you think a swimming coach's discipline is intense, wait until you hear about the father who comes from a world of extreme wealth and high-end business, yet raised a son who chose to live in a cramped dorm and eat convenience store ramen just to make it as a rapper. Which member's father is secretly a major player in the luxury industry? And how did that influence his son's dark and rich musical style? The next story on our list will take us from the swimming pools of Sydney to the high-rolling boardrooms of Korea's elite, and the contrast will absolutely blow your mind. Number 5. Changbin. When we look at the powerhouse known as Changbin, the man with the lightning-fast rap, the dark aesthetic that defined 3 Ratcha, and the biceps that seem to grow with every comeback, it's easy to assume he's a street-hardened warrior who fought his way from the bottom. But the reality of his upbringing is far more cinematic, almost like a plot straight out of a K-drama. Rarely known to casual fans, but legendary within the Stay inner circle, is the fact that Changbin didn't just come from a stable home. He was born into the upper echelons of South Korean society. His father is a high-powered CEO, a man whose professional life is defined by high-stakes boardrooms, corporate strategy, and the immense responsibility of leading a successful company. While the exact name of the firm remains a closely guarded family secret out of respect for their privacy, the evidence of this golden spoon life is scattered throughout Changbin's history. Think back to the early Stray Kids survival show, where we caught glimpses of his family home, a residence so spacious and luxurious it looked more like a villa than an apartment, with high-end interiors that screamed of old money elegance. His mother was once seen serving him high-quality, expensive food that most trainees could only dream of. And his members have often teased him with the nickname Gyubin, a play on the word for gold. Imagine the atmospheric weight of that household, the expectation that the only son of a business giant would naturally follow in his father's footsteps, perhaps pursuing an MBA at an Ivy League school or preparing to take over the family legacy. This wasn't just a rich kid life, it was a life of mapped-out success where the path was already paved with marble. However, the true shock lies in the relationship between this corporate titan and his rebel son. In many wealthy families, a son wanting to be a dark rapper would be seen as a scandalous deviation from the plan. Initially, Changbin's father was indeed skeptical. He didn't see the stage as a serious career, he saw it as a hobby that shouldn't interfere with his son's academic potential. There was a period of intense, unspoken tension where Changbin had to prove that his jute, or his unyielding principles, weren't just a teenage phase, but a reflection of the same leadership and drive his father used in business. The emotional reflection here is staggering. Changbin essentially walked away from a guaranteed life of luxury to live in a cramped dorm, eating 1001 ramen and practicing until his throat was raw, all to prove to his father that his value wasn't inherited, but earned. This father-son dynamic is likely where Changbin's famous principled personality comes from. He didn't just rebel, he adopted his father's work ethic and redirected it toward music. He treated 3RACHA like a startup, managing their production with the same meticulousness a CEO would apply to a quarterly report. When you hear the confidence in his voice, that's the sound of a man who knows he has a home to go back to, but chooses to build his own empire instead. The rarely known fact isn't just that his dad is rich, it's that his father's support only came after Changbin proved he was willing to lose it all. Today, his father is one of his biggest fans, a man who once looked at a rap lyric with confusion, but now looks at his son's global success with the pride of a mentor who saw his greatest investment pay off in a way he never predicted. It's a narrative of trading a silver spoon for a wooden mic, proving that even a prince of the corporate world can find his true calling in the shadows of the underground rap scene. This background adds a layer of prestige to Changbin's dark persona. He isn't dark because he's miserable, he's dark because he chose the grit of the studio over the glitter of the boardroom. Every time Changbin flexes his success, it's a silent nod to a father who taught him that a real man builds his own throne. But if the gold bin chose the rap life over a CEO's chair, which member's father actually provided the secret rockstar DNA that allowed his son to become the youngest and most prolific songwriter in the group's history? And what kind of international business life did this father lead to make his son a child of the world before he even turned 10? Number 4. Han. To understand the sheer unbridled genius of Han Jisung, the man often called the ace of the fourth generation, we have to look beyond the recording studios of Seoul and travel across the ocean to the tropical, humid landscapes of Malaysia, where a young boy was being raised by a father whose professional life was a high-stakes balancing act of international business and paternal intuition. While many fans know that Han spent a significant portion of his childhood in Malaysia, few realize the depth of the rarely known influence his father had on his unconventional path to stardom. Han's father wasn't just a businessman. He was a global strategist, a man whose career required him to move his entire family to a foreign land, navigating different cultures, languages, and professional systems with a stoic adaptability. Imagine the atmosphere of that household, a blend of Korean heritage and the multicultural vibrancy of Malaysia, where Han was enrolled in an international school, exposed to a world much larger than the one his peers in Korea were seeing. His father, a man of quiet observation and immense professional drive, saw early on that his son didn't fit the traditional mold of a student destined for a corporate desk. While other fathers might have pushed for academic excellence above all else, Han's father possessed a rare kind of emotional intelligence that allowed him to see the spark of a creator in his son. This is where the story takes a turn into the extraordinary. Most K-pop stories involve kids begging their parents for a chance to audition, but Han's narrative is defined by a gentleman's agreement orchestrated by his father, a gamble that would either make or break the young boy's future. When Han expressed his burning desire to return to South Korea to pursue music, his father didn't react with lectures or a list of reasons why he should stay in school. Instead, he applied the logic of a seasoned business executive. He looked at the ROI, the return on investment of his son's passion, and offered a deal that remains one of the most pivotal moments in Stray Kids history. He gave Han exactly 1 year. If Han could secure a contract with a major agency within 365 days, he could stay in Korea and chase the dream. If not, he would return to Malaysia, finish his education, and likely enter the world of international business alongside his father. This wasn't a punishment, it was a father teaching his son about the reality of opportunity costs and the weight of a deadline. Imagine the pressure that young Han felt, a teenage boy alone in Korea, fueled by the silent, high-stakes trust of a father who was thousands of miles away. Every lyric he wrote during those early days, every beat he produced, was infused with the urgency of that Malaysian ultimatum. His father's professional background in international trade and management meant that he understood the importance of market timing, and he essentially forced his son to treat his talent like a high-growth startup. But there's a deeper, more emotional layer here. The rarely known fact is that Han's father was the first person to truly recognize Han's struggle with social anxiety and use their time in Malaysia to help him build a shell of confidence. He didn't pressure Han to be the loudest in the room. He taught him how to be the most observant, a trait that Han now uses to write his deeply relatable, introspective lyrics. The quokka we see today, who can go from being a hilarious variety star to a brooding, poetic songwriter in seconds, is a direct reflection of a father who allowed his son the space to be different in a foreign land. His father's career required a level of risk management, and he applied that same philosophy to Han's life, essentially saying, "I will give you the resources to fail, as long as you promise to try with everything you have." This is why Han is so fearless in his musical experimentation. He was raised by a man who taught him that a change of scenery or a change of plans is not a defeat, but a pivot. Even when Han was struggling as a trainee, feeling the immense weight of loneliness, it was the memory of his father's calm, executive-like support that kept him grounded. His father didn't just provide financial stability, he provided a psychological safety net that allowed Han to take the creative risks that eventually led to the formation of 3 Racha. Fans rarely see his father, but you can hear him in every Jisung song that talks about breaking the wall or going your own way. It's the sound of a son who was given the ultimate gift, the freedom to bet on himself. This relationship is a beautiful narrative of a father who stepped back so his son could step up, a man who traded the comfort of having his son nearby for the pride of watching him conquer the world from a stage. The atmosphere of Han's upbringing was one of calculated freedom, a rare commodity in the high-pressure world of Asian parenting. Every time Han hits a high note or spits a rapid-fire verse, he is fulfilling his end of that 1-year bargain, proving that his father's Malaysian gamble was the smartest investment the man ever made. It's a story of trust, of a father who knew that sometimes the best way to protect your child is to let them fly across an ocean with nothing but a dream and a deadline. And as we reflect on this, it makes you wonder, if Han hadn't been pushed by that specific executive mindset, would he have developed the ace mentality that makes him so indispensable to the group? Or would he have stayed in Malaysia, a hidden genius lost to the world of spreadsheets and boardrooms? This background isn't just a trivia point, it's the origin story of Han's Jude, his uncompromising principles. But if Han's father was the silent executive strategist, which member's father comes from a world of such intense artistic and physical discipline that it practically guaranteed his son would become a world-class performer? The next father on our list didn't just support his son's dream, he was the literal architect of his son's grace and stage presence. And the professional background he comes from is so specialized, it's like something out of a classic movie. Are you ready to see which member's father gave him the visual and performance genes that leave millions of people breathless every time he takes the stage? Number 3. Hyunjin. To understand the sheer ethereal presence of Hyunjin, the man whose dance moves flow like liquid silk and whose visuals have been compared to the rarest of masterpieces, we must look into a world of literal brilliance, high-end precision, and the silent, shimmering halls of the luxury trade. While many fans are captivated by Hyunjin's drama on stage, there is a rarely known, almost cinematic reality to his upbringing that explains why he carries himself with the aura of modern-day royalty. Hyunjin's father is a successful and highly respected figure in the jewelry and precious stone industry, a profession that requires a level of aesthetic discernment, attention to detail, and a perfect eye that most people could never fathom. Imagine a childhood where beauty wasn't just a concept, but a professional standard, where the young Hyunjin grew up watching his father evaluate the clarity of diamonds, the depth of sapphires, and the structural integrity of gold. This is the secret DNA of excellence that defines Hyunjin's every movement. In the world of high-end jewelry, there is no such thing as almost perfect. A single microscopic flaw can reduce a stone's value to nothing. This philosophy of flawless or nothing was the silent backdrop of Hyunjin's life, and you can see its reflection in the way he approaches his craft today. He isn't just a dancer, he is a craftsman who polishes his movements until they reflect the light with the same intensity as a well-cut diamond. The atmosphere of his household was one of quiet, sophisticated discipline, where the father's career in the precious metals and stones business meant that quality was always prioritized over quantity. This likely explains Hyunjin's own obsession with artistic expression not just in dance, but in his prolific painting and photography. His father didn't just provide a life of comfort, he provided a lens through which to view the world as a place that can be refined and made beautiful through hard work and a keen eye. Think about the physical parallels. A diamond is formed under immense pressure, over a long period of time, in the dark, before it is finally cut and polished to shine. This mirrors Hyunjin's journey from a young boy who was once told he was just a visual, to a world-renowned artist who spent years in the practice rooms of JYP, enduring the pressure of criticism and the heat of the spotlight to prove that his talent was as real as the gems his father traded. The rarely known fact that adds an emotional sting to this narrative is that his father, despite being a man of business and high-end luxury, was the first to recognize that Hyunjin's true value wasn't in a corporate office or a storefront, but in the art of performance. There is a profound reflective depth to their relationship. His father taught him that being a visual isn't a gift, it's a responsibility like a precious stone. If you don't take care of it, if you don't polish it, it loses its luster. This is why Hyunjin is famously hard on himself, often practicing until his legs give out, seeking a level of perfection that mirrors the high standards of his father's professional world. Fans often talk about Hyunjin's expensive vibe, but it's not about the clothes he wears, it's about the inherited dignity of a man who understands the value of things that are rare and hard-earned. His father's influence is also felt in Hyunjin's resilience. In the jewelry business, one must have a poker face and a steady hand, traits that Hyunjin has had to adopt to navigate the often harsh and judgmental world of global fame. The emotional weight of this connection is most visible when Hyunjin speaks about his dog Kami or his personal art. There is a tenderness and a protectiveness there that reflects a son who was raised to cherish what is precious. It makes you wonder, without the influence of a father who understood the difference between a common rock and a priceless gem, Would Hyunjin have had the Jut Day to transform his visual curse into his greatest artistic strength? The relationship is one of unspoken understanding, the jeweler father knowing that his son is his most brilliant masterpiece, and the idol son knowing that his father is the one who taught him how to shine even in the darkest room. As we reflect on this, we see that Hyunjin's journey isn't just a story of a boy who became a star. It's a story of a son who took the precision of his father's world and translated it into the passion of his own. Every time Hyunjin steps onto a stage and captures the light with that trademark Versace Prince elegance, he is carrying the legacy of a man who knows that true beauty is only achieved through the fire of the forge and the precision of the cut. This is the Hwang legacy, a blend of rugged determination and shimmering grace that makes him one of the most mesmerizing figures in music today. The atmosphere of their bond is like a high-end gallery, quiet, respectful, and filled with a deep appreciation for the work behind the wonder. But as incredible as it is to think about a father who trades in diamonds raising a son who is a gem of the industry, nothing, and I mean nothing, can prepare you for the revelation at number 2. We are moving from the world of luxury into a world of high-risk, high-stakes professional history that is so unexpected it will make you question everything you thought you knew about the happy virus of the group. Which member's father holds a professional secret that is so shocking it connects a fourth-generation K-pop icon to a world of intense physical danger and high-profile service that you'd normally only see in a Hollywood blockbuster? The countdown is reaching its peak, and the answer to why this member is so fearless in the face of the world is finally about to be revealed. Are you ready for the shock of a lifetime? Number 2. Felix. Prepare yourself to have everything you thought you knew about the sunshine of Stray Kids completely turned upside down, because behind the freckles, the ethereal visuals, and the heart-melting smile of Lee Felix lies a heritage of pure, unadulterated steel that traces back to the rugged, high-stakes industrial landscapes of Australia. While the world sees an angelic fairy who bakes brownies and speaks with a voice like deep velvet, the man who raised him is a figure carved from a completely different stone, a man whose professional life was defined not by the soft lights of a studio, but by the intense, physically demanding, and often perilous world of specialized technical operations in Australia's high-octane infrastructure sector. We are talking about a father who is essentially the Iron Man of the Lee family, a master of a craft that requires nerves of steel, extreme physical endurance, and a level of precision where a single mistake could have catastrophic consequences. Imagine a young Felix growing up in the suburbs of Sydney, not in a world of luxury or ease, but under the guidance of a father who came home every day covered in the dust of hard labor and the aura of a man who had conquered the elements. This rarely known fact is the missing link that explains why Felix, despite his slender frame and delicate features, possesses a level of physical grit and mental toughness that leaves his members in awe. His father's career in specialized technical services, a field that often involves navigating dangerous environments, heavy machinery, and high-pressure deadlines, was the silent classroom where Felix learned that true strength isn't about how you look, but about how much you can endure. Think about the atmospheric contrast. While Felix was honing his Taekwondo skills for 12 years, achieving a third-degree black belt and winning countless medals, he was doing so under the watchful eye of a father who understood the mechanics of force and the necessity of discipline better than anyone. This wasn't just a hobby for Felix, it was a rite of passage dictated by a father who wanted his son to be unbreakable in a world that he knew was often harsh and unforgiving. The shock at number 2 comes from the realization that Felix's sunshine persona is actually a choice, a beautiful, intentional mask of kindness worn by a man who was forged in a furnace of Australian blue-collar excellence. His father's influence is the secret reason behind that legendary deep voice. It's almost as if the resonant, earth-shaking bass in Felix's chest is a genetic echo of a father who had to make his voice heard over the roar of industrial machinery and the howling winds of the Australian coast. When you see Felix performing God's Menu or Maniac and his voice drops to those impossible depths, You aren't just hearing a rapper, you are hearing the legacy of a man who taught his son that a man's voice must carry weight, authority, and truth. The emotional reflection here is deeply moving. Imagine the day Felix told his Iron Man father that he wanted to leave the safety of Sydney to become an idol in Korea. In a world of high-stakes technical work, the idea of pop stardom might seem frivolous, yet his father didn't dismiss it. Instead, he applied the same rigorous standards he used in his own career. He demanded that if Felix were to go, he must go with the intention of being the best, the most resilient, and the most disciplined. This is why we see Felix constantly pushing his body to the limit, dancing until his knees are bruised and his breath is gone, never once complaining. He is carrying the Lee professionalism, the idea that the job isn't done until the structure is perfect. There is a rarely known story of Felix's father being his primary source of physical conditioning, pushing him to run, to kick, and to build a core strength that belies his flower boy image. This background adds a layer of ruggedness to Felix that fans are only just beginning to understand. He isn't just a visual, he is a survivalist who was raised by a man who knows exactly what it takes to build something from nothing in a foreign land. His father's life as a specialist who navigated the complexities of Australian industry with quiet dignity gave Felix the social armor he needs to handle the cutthroat K-pop industry. Every time Felix smiles through a difficult situation, he is channeling the stoicism of a father who taught him that a real hero keeps his head up when the pressure is at its highest. This relationship is a narrative of steel and silk. The father provides the steel foundation, and the son provides the silk artistry. The atmosphere of their bond is one of profound, unspoken respect, the kind of relationship where a father's call from across the ocean serves as a grounding force, reminding Felix that no matter how many millions of fans scream his name, he is still the son of a man who values hard work, integrity, and the strength of one's character above all else. This revelation changes everything about how we perceive Felix's fragility. He isn't fragile, he is reinforced. He is a high-precision instrument tuned by a master technician of life. The shock lies in the fact that the most magical member of Stray Kids was raised in the most grounded and rugged environment possible, proving that the brightest suns are often born from the hardest earth. It makes you wonder, if Felix hadn't been raised by a man of such intense physical and professional grit, would he have had the stamina to survive the grueling elimination process of the survival show? Or would he have folded under the weight of the deep voice expectations? His father's legacy is written in the way Felix handles his maniac power, with a steady hand and a heart that never wavers. This is the Australian spirit personified, a blend of kindness and iron that makes Felix a one-of-a-kind phenomenon in the music world. As we reflect on this, we realize that the sunshine we all love is actually the light reflecting off a surface of pure, polished steel. But as shocking as it is to find out that the Sunshine Fairy was raised by an industrial hero, we have one more member to go. The number one spot is reserved for the member whose father is perhaps the most mysterious and influential figure of all, a man whose professional background and personal philosophies are so deeply embedded in his son's unpredictable and 4D personality that it will leave you questioning the very nature of genius. Who is the man behind the Lee mystery, and what kind of specialized world did he come from to produce a son who is both a master of dance and a master of the unconventional? The final revelation is just one step away, and it's the most emotional one yet. Are you ready to meet the architect of the Lee enigma? Number 1. Lee. To reach the pinnacle of our list, we must step into the most guarded, mysterious, and deeply respected territory of all the world of the man who raised the dancing gem of Gimpo, Lee. While other members might share occasional anecdotes about their fathers, Lee has always treated his family life like a precious, locked vault, leaving fans to wonder about the origin of his legendary 4D personality and his terrifyingly sharp precision. But hidden within the rare fragments of interviews and the quiet pride of his hometown lies a truth that is as sturdy and meticulously crafted as a piece of fine art. Lee No's father is a professional craftsman, a master in the highly specialized and demanding world of the furniture industry, specifically focusing on the intricate art of furniture, renovation, and upholstery. This isn't just a job, it is a discipline of millimeters and absolute patience, a profession where one must see the hidden potential in a worn-out frame and use one's hands to breathe life back into it with surgical accuracy. Imagine a young Minho growing up in a household defined by the rhythmic sound of a master at work, the steady hands of a father who could take raw, stubborn materials and transform them into something beautiful, functional, and enduring. This atmosphere of the workshop is the secret blueprint for Lee No's entire career. Have you ever wondered why he is the main dancer who can memorize a complex choreography in a single glance while others take hours? It's because he was raised by an artisan who taught him that everything in life is a structure. To his father, a chair is a series of joints and tensions. To Lee No, a dance is a series of angles and muscular control. The rarely known depth of this relationship lies in the silent, stoic bond they share, a man of few words, raising another man of few words. In a world where everyone is screaming for attention, Lee No's father taught him that the highest form of respect is found in the quality of your output, not the volume of your voice. This is why Lee No often appears icy or detached to the casual observer. It is the focused, observational gaze of a craftsman who is analyzing the room before he makes his move. But the emotional core of this story, the part that will truly tug at your heartstrings, is the story of the three cats, Suni, Doonji, and Dory. In a traditional household led by a hard-working, professional father, bringing home 3 stray cats could have been a source of conflict. Yet, in a reflection of the father's hidden warmth, he didn't just accept the cats, he became their silent protector alongside his son. There is a profound, reflective beauty in the idea of this master craftsman, a man whose hands are likely calloused from years of working with wood and fabric, gently showing kindness to the small, vulnerable creatures his son brought home. It is from his father that Lee No learned the tough on the outside, soft on the inside philosophy that has made him the tsundere king of K-pop. His father didn't teach him how to be an idol. He taught him how to be a man of substance, someone who shows his love through actions, like cooking for his members or ensuring the choreography is perfect for the group's sake, rather than seeking individual praise. The professional background of his father as a furniture specialist also explains Lee No's unique sense of humor and his unpredictable nature. In the world of restoration, you often encounter unexpected flaws in the wood or hidden breaks in the frame, and you have to be creative and quick-thinking to fix them. This problem-solving DNA is what makes Lee No the chaos coordinator of Stray Kids. He sees the world differently because he was raised by a man who looks at the inside of things. The atmosphere of their relationship is one of mutual high-level competence. While Lee No was a backup dancer for BTS, grinding in the shadows, his father was likely in his own workshop, grinding in the shadows of the industry. Both of them working toward a level of mastery that most people would find exhausting. There is a legendary, yet rarely discussed, moment of reflection where Lee No realized that his father's silent support was the loudest encouragement he ever received. His father didn't need to give him a grand speech, he just needed to keep working, showing Minho that a Lee doesn't quit until the job is done to perfection. This is why, when Lee No was momentarily eliminated from the Stray Kids survival show, he didn't crumble or beg. He went back to the practice room with the same quiet, fierce determination of a craftsman returning to a broken project, knowing he had the skills to fix it. Every time you see Lee No execute a power dance with such sharp, clean lines that it looks like he was carved out of marble, you are seeing the legacy of the Gimpo artisan. He is the #1 on our list because he represents the ultimate synthesis of his father's professional values, precision, independence, and a hidden heart of gold. His father's life in the furniture industry, a world where things are built to last for generations, is the reason why Lee No isn't interested in fleeting fame. He is building a career that is structurally sound, aesthetically perfect, and impossible to break. As we look back at all 8 fathers, from the swimming coaches of Sydney to the diamond merchants and the Busan protectors, we realize that Stray Kids isn't just a group of 8 talented boys, they are the living, breathing masterpieces of 8 men who taught them that greatness isn't given, it is forged, polished, and protected. Does the Lee No enigma finally make sense now? Could it be that his 4D personality is actually the most logical response to a world that doesn't understand the depth of a craftsman's silence? The legacy of the Stray Kids' fathers is a testament to the fact that while the boys are the ones under the spotlight, the foundations they stand on were built by the calloused hands, the strategic minds, and the unyielding hearts of the men who raised them.